Awesome. Little background vibes. You guys, Happy New Year! Or,
Happy
no,
New
you don't
Year.
say that yet, huh?
Okay. It's not quite time.
You
But
say
also
New Year's Eve.
our poster's still up.
I know.
Okay. But yeah, Happy New Year. I mean, it's appropriate to say Happy New Year, I think. Ava
It's
said yes.
about time.
Ava
It's
said
about
yes.
time. Ava says yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop us on the screen.
Alrighty.
And let's get started.
Hi. Ooh, I'm close.
You're like very close. We're
Like
both
hi.
very close. Let's see if I can pull us back.
Yeah, that feels better.
I kind of like the close up. So,
Yeah, that works for me.
you guys, welcome to our let's talk about breastfeeding. Colby, boobies. Hey
Yes.
y'all.
Hey, Colby.
We are just we're just kind of like both chilling, and some of our friends were just kind of chilling, and we just started talking, and we were like, let's just go live and let's talk about breastfeeding. There are many of you guys out there that have lots of questions about breastfeeding. We get questions all the time. We want to answer some of those questions and kind of get in front of some things, to give you guys some resources and prepare you for like the future, so that
Yeah.
you can experience lots of good success. So I want to welcome you guys all. I see somebody just tagging all her homegirls like,
Yeah.
let's
I'm
go,
like,
let's talk about this
and
movie.
make sure you post your questions or I can't see them. Nicole, I think you can see them.
Mhm.
Post your questions so we can answer them in real time because that's why we're here. We want to chit chat. Okay, Ava, hold on. You're messing my whole bag, babe. Kids love them.
Right. Breastfeeding
Um,
children.
breastfed children got a permanent backpack. Say hi, Ava.
Hi. So we do
Um,
want to answer your questions in real time. If you have any of those, we've got questions. Oh Lord, okay, here we go.
oh,
Let's
okay.
go. Chloe jumped in and she says, is it possible to avoid engorgement the first few days when your milk is transitioning in? Sarita, do you want to go or you want me to go? Are we just gonna go boom, boom, boom like
You go
that?
ahead and go first, and I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
sweet. Colby, that's a great question. And the answer to that question is yes, it is possible to avoid engorgement the first few days. And I just want to like kind of articulate a little bit of something to help us understand what happens with our breasts. So when you have breast milk right now, there's just there sitting your milkshake, and it's already there. Well, I mean, I have milk too, so we won't
Well,
talk
so
about
do
that.
I, but if you never mind. Go ahead. Too many details.
Okay. So while you're pregnant, you have milk. And when you first deliver your baby, you have a release of a specific type of milk called colostrum. And then over the next few days, that colostrum will change into transitionary milk. So it's like colostrum with a little mature milk, kind of like mixing. So transition milk, and then it turns all the way to mature milk, which is what people often say, like, my milk hasn't come in. What they're referring to is mature breast milk with the fat that helps your baby to gain weight. So yes, it's possible to avoid engorgement. And the way that you do that is feeding on demand. When your baby is wanting and needing breast milk. When they're showing signs of hunger and cues, you feed your baby basically on demand, and you can often avoid engorgement by doing that. Sometimes women get engorged because they've waited too long or long periods of time between feeding because they're seeking to feed on a schedule. Like their baby is born and they're like, oh, every 2 hours, I'm going to feed my baby. But the reality is, your baby may need more frequent feedings, less like shorter, more frequent feedings in order for them to be satisfied, as well as to signal and communicate to your breast and milk production what to produce, how much, when, where, and why.
And I will just thank you, Nicole. That was beautiful. I will just add to that. The other part about avoiding engorgement is Ava Rain. I need you to stop singing. I'm on a live, baby. Thank you. She was giving us a little background tunes. The other way to avoid that is to make sure that you have a proper latch in the first place. If your baby has an improper latch, or if there is improper positioning, or there is something amiss between the mother baby dyad when you first start breastfeeding, that can affect proper milk transfer. And when there is not proper milk transfer, that can also encourage engorgement. So making sure that you have a proper latch, making sure that there are no anatomical issues with your baby's mouth that might be hindering that, such as a lip tie, a tongue tie, a buccal tie, a high palate. Like there's a whole multitude of things that maybe could be going on, but making sure that when you have your baby, whether it's at home or in the hospital, you get a good, proper latch assessment when you first get that baby latched on. That is going to be also part of the key to making sure that you avoid engorgement.
Can I just say, you went all the way in, and I was like, come back, come back, come back. Buccal tie, and I was like, Sarita, come back, come back.
I know.
But
those
things
also
are true, right?
Yes. So I know that was a lot, but it's a thing.
Day 4, my boobs are rock hard. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That definitely can happen. Go ahead.
I'm like, I remember the days.
Yeah, that can definitely happen, but like feeding more frequently will help reduce that. And then getting in, since Sarita kind of brought it up, this is something we're seeing a lot of. And I'm telling you, like, okay, I'm about to get fired up for 2 seconds. So a lot of people are like, oh, my baby's like having these signs and these symptoms, and I don't know what's going on, or my baby stays on the breast for a really, really long time, and I'm not really sure. So just because you birth in the hospital does not mean that you are getting, and a lactation person comes by or your nurse comes by, that does not mean you are getting a proper lactation assessment. That does not mean that you have a lactation professional just because you have a nurse in the room that is seeking to help you. So I want to start there. And I want to say a lot of tongue and lip ties, buccal ties, and all of these other ties are often missed or overlooked by some providers. I'm trying not to like point fingers and be like, a lot of y'all, but like some providers are really skipping that or dismissing it. And I always tell women, nobody's at home with you through the night on a regular, consistent basis, aside from your partner or your spouse. So some things like you will have to advocate for yourself and push. And so I want to just talk about the tie. Like who's our go-to recommendation? What do we tell people to do? Like, go ahead, get in it, Sarita. Your turn. Yeah.
Oh wait, what do you want me to do? I missed this.
Well, just how do you get in front of the possibility of having a tie? Exactly.
Okay, so how you are going to get impossible. I can't speak today. How are you going to get in front of having a tie? The first thing I would recommend is like nutrition. Some of that stuff, some things are genetics. So I can look at a couple, I can look at a mother, I can look at other children. And because I've been doing this for a while, like I can say, your baby might have a tie. That is something that I just have learned to do over the years. There are certain signs and symptoms that just scream at me, okay, look in their mouth. I had a client today who was absolutely positively sure that their baby did not have a tie. And I looked at her mouth and I'm like, did you have any pain when you started breastfeeding? And she, yes, that's where I was this morning. I said, do you have any pain when you were breastfeeding earlier on? She was like, yeah, but it wasn't that bad, nothing abnormal. And I said, well, can you lift up your lip? And sure enough, she had a tie. I said, well, can I check the baby and just see what that looks like? Because I would like to, if this looks like what could be a tie, I would like to refer you for an official diagnosis and to be assessed. Because as a CLC, I can't diagnose, but I can definitely refer you out to somebody that can. And sure enough, baby had a tie that wasn't causing very many issues. The baby wasn't having any weight issues. Mom wasn't having any supply issues, although that's why we were meeting today, as she thought she was. But diet, making sure that you are feeding yourself bioavailable nutrients to make sure that you're keeping your body in check before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and then that will decrease the chances of your baby having those difficulties. Another thing is making sure that you're getting folate instead of folic acid. There's a huge push for pregnant moms to get folic acid, folic acid, folic acid. Folate is actually what you need, not folic acid. So while you're in the store buying your supplements, skip over the folic acid and pick up your folate, because that is what your body's going to need to build great tissues.
And the folate comes from food.
Yes. Yes.
So the folate comes from food. And I'm going to pull back, take a quick tangent, and then we'll jump back in. What we're finding is that women are taking supplements as their primary source and then eating everything else and thinking that they're being covered by their supplement. So we are like big advocates of helping you get to the source and get nutrition that is, like Sarita was saying, bioavailable, but actually comes from plants, from the ground, and your body knows what to do with it. And so sometimes I feel like people are very dismissive of diet when it comes to pregnancy, when it comes to breastfeeding, when it comes to all of that. I feel like women a lot are dismissive of that. And the reality is many of the issues that you run into during pregnancy, birth, and even postpartum have a lot to do, almost everything to do with your nutrition. So that's a big deal and something that we have really kind of taken very seriously and brought on and incorporated into our practice to make sure that our clients are actually getting access to bioavailable food. And when I say bioavailable, I mean nutrients that like your body knows how to read and register. So and process, right? So like your kidneys or liver don't have to overwork to process the crap and filter out what you've actually put in. Instead, there's relief on those areas and your body's like, oh yeah, right fuel for what we're doing. So that's one thing. And the over-the-counter medications, pills, have isolated chemistry. And what isolated chemistry means is it's made in a lab and it's not grown from the ground. So when we're looking for vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, all of those things, we need to get those from our source, which is some sort of plant-based food, fruit, some vegetables, something. And that will help us and help you have a more successful experience and decrease the likelihood of all of these other complications.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump to a question real quick. Yes. Kwaizi has a question. Would you recommend that mothers figure out how to properly latch before they opt to just bottle feed breast milk and pumping?
Absolutely. When you are pregnant, before you get pregnant, I think there's a lot of time. We miss out sometimes on the planning of the pregnancies. So like if you are of childbearing age and you want to have children, it is important to get your whole life together, health-wise, before you get pregnant. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Didn't happen for me. It hasn't happened for a lot of people, and that's fine. But the moment you get pregnant, you have to start stacking your ducks in a row to achieve your goals as a parent. Do you want to breastfeed? Do you want to have a natural childbirth? Do you want a hospital birth or a home birth? Do you want a doula? Do you want an unassisted birth? Like, all of those things start rattling around naturally in a parent's head when they become pregnant. One of the check marks on that list should be breastfeeding classes or some sort of breastfeeding education. All of this is your breastfeeding success is dependent on the preparation you do before you actually have a baby and decide to breastfeed. As many scenarios that you can work out with your breastfeeding educator or your breastfeeding teacher, whoever you latch on to, whether that's a CLC, a IBCLC, or a peer counselor, whoever, these things should be talked through and walked through before you have the baby so that you can have a better success rate. We can talk about, I'm sure everybody's heard all the horror stories and everything about breastfeeding and birth and all of that. These things can be avoided, and they can also be less stressful if you know about certain things ahead of time. So if you can talk about proper positioning before the baby gets here, that way, when you have a baby, you know what to do with the baby once it gets here, and you're not just kind of like, I don't know what to do. The baby will do most of the work for you. But anyway, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But if you have some kind of knowledge about what to expect, so positioning before the baby gets here, what to expect. Nicole, you spoke earlier about the every 2 to 3 hours thing. A lot of moms have a baby and expect every 2 to 3 hours. Realistically, that doesn't happen. Newborn babies eat way more than that. And a lot of times moms have these babies, baby wants to eat in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, the baby wants to eat again. And they're like, I just fed you. Okay, well, feed them again because baby's hungry again. So if you get latched onto somebody and get some lactation education while you're pregnant, before you get pregnant or while you're pregnant, so that you know what to expect, it can make things a lot less stressful once the baby actually gets here, so that you know what to do, or at least have a resource to ask questions, a reliable resource to ask questions, because the nurses in the hospital, some of them may be lactation professionals, but most of them are not. If you're on shift with somebody if you have a baby, if you're at a hospital and a on-shift nurse happens to be a lactation person, that is wonderful. That's awesome. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. If you have a baby on the weekends, 9 times out of 10, the IBCLC is not going to be working. They usually work Monday through Friday. It would be great if they worked on the weekend. Sometimes they do, but most of the times they don't. So it's important to get this information before baby gets here, rather than trying to figure it out while you're actually in it.
Yeah.
Off the soapbox now.
And having someone that you connect with during your pregnancy is great, because that person will be an easy, quick resource to follow up with once your baby is here and maybe you're home and having some additional questions or concerns.
Yes.
So let's go to another question. Luke Yogi says, is it good to pump?
Is it good to pump? Pumping definitely has its place. Pumping is a lot of work. So our bodies biologically are designed to respond to our infants. There are times, emergency situations, where moms and babies have to be separated and pumping is necessary. So I have a list of preferences when it comes to expressing breast milk. So of course, the number one is going to be for a mom to latch a baby onto their own breast and feed their baby. Right. The second one would be to hand express. And hand express is literally you're just expressing your own milk utilizing your hands. You would hand express into a small container, a bowl. It really honestly depends on breast size, what you're comfortable with and what you can maneuver. And then if you've bypassed the hand expression, and then we get into pumping with a hospital grade breast pump, that also trickles into feeding. So like, if you're going to be expressing milk to provide milk to your baby, how are you going to get that milk into that baby? So there's several different ways to do that. Supplemental nursing systems is like the best way to do that. It looks like kind of like an IV bag, except the container is a lot more durable. It has a little tube. You usually tape the tube right to the breast. You latch the baby on as normal. And while that baby is suckling on the mom's breast, the tube is delivering milk to that baby. The other option would be to use a syringe. your regular, they have oral feeding syringes, but you can even use like a small medicine syringe to feed the baby. Another option would be a little medicine cup. The little cups that come with pediatric over-the-counter medications, small little cup, your baby can drink out of a little cup. You just hold it up and they just kind of slurp it up. That's right, Ava. Just slurp it on up. So is it good to pump? It's okay to pump when necessary. I typically don't advise if there's no emergencies in the situation, I usually don't advise my clients start pumping, like to prepare to go back to work or something like that until their baby's at least 4 to 6 weeks old.
Yep. So to answer that question, is it good to pump? It depends.
Yes.
We've got one more question. What does it mean if you just started nursing days in and your areola starts peeling or started peeling?
What were you going to say, Nicole? Go ahead.
I mean, it can mean a lot of things. I would, one, it could just be as simple as your breasts are being agitated, or like through the process and it's, not used to that. The other thing that kind of is the biggest flag to me, or the biggest thing that kind of like a yellow flag, would be, what is our latch? Do we have an improper latch? Because if the skin on the areola, and when we talk about areola, are we talking about fuller areola? Or are we talking nipple? So what are we talking about there? So the question would be for me, what is our latch? Is there pain? Are there other things going on with this peeling latch that's happening, or this peeling areola? So I think there's follow-up. For me, there's follow-up to that. Well, she just popped in and she said a fuller areola.
Okay.
Like you have a fuller areola.
I would question, are you using soap on your breasts when you wash in the shower? Like direct soap. So our areolas are self-lubricating. They're not excreting visible lubrication, but they don't necessarily need a scrub-a-dub-dub with a bunch of soap, especially with breastfeeding. So if you are utilizing a harsh soap, even if you're not utilizing a harsh soap, any kind of soap can be extra drying to the breast tissues, the areola, when you're breastfeeding. So what I tell people sometimes is take yourself 2 washcloths in the shower. While you are showering down, avoid the areolas and the nipple. Wash everything else around and underneath. Take your 2 washcloths, put them over your nipples and areola, and then rinse off so that water and that soapy water is not rushing over them. That usually will protect the integrity of the skin on the areola and the nipple. If there's no other issues going on, sometimes it could be the soap. Thank you, baby.
Awesome. I just want to jump in really quick because Kiki's like commenting in real time, and I want to like grab her real quick. So she says initially latching, but now pumping. Kiki, do you want to give us a little bit of feedback of, did you initially latch? Because I heard earlier you said days in. So I'm assuming that this is a recent delivery and you're kind of wanting to do some switcheroonies, or you've done some switcheroonies. Go ahead and add that information in the comments, and then we'll get back to you. So we'll hop on to Trakia. Okay. What to do if baby has to have thickener? So now you have to pump, but pump doesn't drain as much, and supply and demand seem to be going down. Okay, gotcha.
These are awesome questions. Awesome questions.
They are.
So my question to follow up this question is, why did the baby have to have thickener in the first place? So I'm going to assume, and Trakia, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Typically, from what I've seen in clinic, in the office, reasons that babies, if there's no medical issue, no prematurity, no kind of anything that went on, typically babies that have to have thickener is because there's been an issue with spitting up and throwing up. That can be caused by ties. There is a huge population of babies that have been misdiagnosed, if you will, with acid reflux and things of that nature. And then on further examination, they have a lip tie, they have a tongue tie, they have a buccal tie, and they've switched formulas. They've had to have thickeners in their milk so that they can keep things down. So my follow-up question to this is, what was the reason for the thickener in the first place? Did this baby have a swallow study done? And do they have an issue with swallowing? And is that the reason that the baby's on the thickener? Or is it that the baby was diagnosed with acid reflux and that's why the baby has thickener? The pump isn't going to drain as much as latching your baby on. It's not possible because, again, our bodies are biologically made to respond to our babies. A pump is supposed to be like a homie to kick it with, but not to like sleep in the bed next to. So it's not supposed to be a replacement for your baby. It's just supposed to be a helper, a homie to like guide, to like link arms with you and help you out when you're separated from your baby. If you are basing your perception of your supply going down based on your pump output, that is incorrect. So what you're able to pump out into those containers is not what your supply is. Normal pumping is anywhere from 1 to 3 ounces, both breasts combined. So if your breasts, or if your pumping output went from like 5 ounces when the baby was first born and is now like 4 ounces or 3 ounces or even 2 ounces, that 2 ounces, 3 ounces is still within the realm of normal. And it's not a supply issue. It's a pump issue. It's like a pump response issue. I don't know. Let's see. She aspirates with every feeding because of swallow test confirming issues causing irritation. Now a Nutrigen has a lip tongue tie clipped at 4 weeks, now 3 months, and she still had a lip and tongue tie. So I'm going to work this comment in reverse. So after that first revision, were the exercises maintained for at least 5 weeks? If your baby's tongue or lip tie was it clipped by a lactation, somebody that was familiar with lactation, and did they refer you to lactation after that to make sure that you were doing the proper exercises to make sure that tie stayed separated? Because if you're not doing the stretches after the revision, it's going to heal right back up. Your mouth is very quickly healing. Just think about when you bite your tongue. It heals up, a couple hours, next morning, like your tongue is healed. So same thing with those revisions. Once you get it revised, if you're not in there doing those stretches like 5 to 10 times a day, it is going to heal back together, and you're going to have to keep repeatedly getting it revised. Babies with swallow issues, though babies that are having swallow issues, their best bet is to be on the breast instead of being bottle fed, because they can
measure,
self-regulate their own milk withdrawal instead of being given, like basically being poured a glass of milk. There you go.
Yep. And I just wanted to hop in and say, there are a lot of providers around that may, do lip and tongue revisions, maybe clipping or laser. Dr. Hamilton Family Dentistry in Bryant, Arkansas, is the only provider in the state of Arkansas that does water lancing for lip, tongue, tie revisions. So we just wanted you to know that, have that resource, pull that out as needed. Have that in your back pocket. If you're pregnant right now, or you know somebody that's pregnant, and you kind of do the little tests, like take your tongue, roll it around and roll it around. And if you can't even take your tongue out of your mouth, like
if you can't,
then go ahead and just prepare for that.
Huh? Funny.
I know. I was like, I'm trying not to go all in because I normally like open all my mouth out, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop. Awesome. You guys are asking some amazing questions. So I'm going to pause on the Q&A briefly. just to give a couple of tips.
Yes.
So when we're talking about breastfeeding, things that we feel like moms need to know, we've already talked about nutrition and how fundamental your nutrition is. So we've got options, we've got resources to connect you with great nutrition, superior nutrition, actually, to help address many of the dis-ease in your body and your baby's body, potentially, to help get in front of all of the issues that may arise. But the other thing is, what are things that I'm learning, like limiting beliefs about breastfeeding in general? Many of you guys, or many women, come into this with, I don't know if I'm going to be able to breastfeed. I don't know if I'm going to have enough milk. I don't know. My mom didn't breastfeed. And so, not coming from a community where you see breastfeeding done very often creates limiting beliefs in yourself.
Yes.
So, I just wanted to take like a few minutes just to kind of address those things. And like, just because your best friend, your mom, your sister, your brother, your cousin, whoever was unable to breastfeed, that does not mean that you will be unable to breastfeed. Someone else's story is absolutely not your story. While you may have pieces that are similar, you don't have the exact same story.
Yep.
So I just want to encourage you guys out there to change the way you think about breastfeeding and think more in the positive side. If this is something you want to do, then yes, it's work. It's work for sure. But once you get it down, it's joy and it's a blessing to be able to do that. Like, your breasts don't just leak milk for no reason. Like, they have a purpose. Yeah, they have a purpose, and it's continuing the process that your body's already begun housing and growing your baby to maturity, basically to delivery. And then it's growing your baby to maturity to take on actual food. And this is the most bioavailable food ever that is coming straight from your breast to your baby. But how do you make sure you're healthy enough to give your baby the best start? So sometimes, we always say breast is best. And it is. Breast is best. And so I know there's a lot of people that think differently about that and feel some type of way when you hear breast is best. If for whatever reason you opted out of or felt like you were unable to successfully breastfeed, the statement breast is best is not a jab or a finger point at anybody who opted to not breastfeed for whatever reason. It is a statement in fact, and it is what it is. So with that being said, when you have the healthiest system you can, now you can give the best to your baby. So that's what we're hopping on right there. Sarita, you have any soapbox you want to jump on real quick?
Ooh, how do I go after that?
You just go.
So for me personally, anybody that's on here that knows me knows I breastfed all three of my kids. Like, Okay, we're gonna come back to that before we go. But
yeah, I just had to I saw it. I had to show it to you so that you could see it.
I want to encourage you all to get to the resources. So if you have people around you, and it kind of leads into exactly what that comment just said. If you have people around you, or you're reaching out to people that are not fulfilling their role as a supportive provider, find a new provider.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
I was in a conversation earlier today with a mom that just loved their provider, but the provider was telling her stuff that just wasn't, it was going against everything that her own instincts were telling her to do. And I have no issues with the provider. The provider is great in general, but if that provider isn't fitting for you, and this is what I told her, if this provider is not fitting for you, find another one. It's literally that simple. It's just that simple.
And it's okay to do that. I think some women feel hesitant or they're not allowed to find another provider because they might hurt someone's feelings or, something like that. So
it goes for family also. So if you are in a circle or a family of I'll use aunts and sisters and cousins and moms and grandmas. If you have a familial circle that isn't supporting what your goals, missions, and wants are for your family, don't find another family, like families forever, but you can find another support system.
Yes.
There are resources out there for you. You can move along, and it is okay to get advice from other people. It's okay. And those people that are going to get their feelings hurt, they're not really having your best interest at heart in the first place.
Right.
You
Right.
need to feel supported. Being a mom is hard enough. Like, if you are not being supported where you are, you just need to move around. You literally need to just move around. There is a space for you. There is support. Reach out and like.
And I would also say,
you get up the box and be like, "This is what I got going on." Did I lose sound?
You did for a minute, and then you came back. You're good.
Okay. If you are having difficulty finding a resource, you can hit up the Ujima inbox and say, "Okay, this is what I got going on. Refer me to somebody." We'll be happy to get somebody for you. It's just that simple. It literally is just that simple. Okay. I want to address
Kwai's sharing links and resources. Yeah. And I'm just popping them up on here.
Okay.
In a minute. But I would say, like, you know, from us and from our vantage point, I feel like your first resource is Ujima Maternity Network.
Yes.
I think that's a big thing. I feel like we are a resource that's available in our community that isn't getting enough traffic or communication. Like kind of networking and spreading the word, and like there's a resource available, as opposed to kind of sitting at home in your corner and like not talking about it. Like, I'm talking about providers, lactation counselors that look like you, that have breastfed like you, that have struggled like you, that have a mom or an auntie or a grandma or a sister or a brother or a husband that has opinions that may be opposing what you're looking for and what you're wanting, but you need to link arms. So breastfeeding rates in Arkansas amongst Black mothers is pretty low. Sarita, do you know the statistic right now?
Not right off the top of my head. I've got it in a note, but
yeah. I know it's pretty low.
It's low. It has gone up since 2015. Excuse me, 2018, right, which is the last.
But it's lower than. It's gone up, and breastfeeding rates in general have gone up, but Black breastfeeding rates are still lower than the increased national average, if that makes sense. And especially for Black women in Arkansas. So the question is, the big question is, why? Why? And just a quick story for me. I breastfed my children. Like, I never had a conversation with my mom or my siblings or whatever to say, like, what am I supposed to do? Is this what we do, or is this what we don't do? Never had that conversation. I just thought, like, oh, I'm gonna breastfeed. My breastfeeding relationship was what I call sabotage in the hospital with my son. So we, delivered, bring him to the breast. This was 23 years ago in Moreno Valley, California, just so you know where I'm at. I was told that I could not leave the hospital until they could measure how much milk he consumed. So they would not release me from the hospital until they could measure it. And then also told me, because they're not able to measure my breast milk coming out, I had to give him a bottle. And so in the hospital, just so we could go home, literally just so I could go home, I allowed them to give my son a bottle in the hospital, and they did. And then what happened was, that was his introduction to food. And it sits right at the back of your throat, and it drips, and all he has to do is swallow. Maybe he sucks, maybe he doesn't. But that was the experience. So I get home and I'm like, we're really going to work on breastfeeding. We're going to figure this thing out. And I was young. I was a young mom. I was 21 or 22 when I had him. And I'm bringing him up to my breast, and I'm like, this child is screaming, and
Right.
I'm shoving my boob in his mouth. That felt very uncomfortable, and I ended up not breastfeeding him. And I had lots of supply. Like, I had supply. There was actually no reason for me not to breastfeed him. But it felt uncomfortable because literally he would scream bloody murder when I brought him to the breast after the introduction
Of the
of
bottle.
formula in the hospital, formula through the bottle in the hospital. And so that was painful and it sucked. And so I want women to have better experiences, better outcomes, know their resources that are available to them, and like really kind of change the game when it comes to this. So, and then with my daughters, well, and then real quick, we went on the craziest journey, like the most expensive formula out there at the time was Nutramigen. I still think it's still Nutramigen.
It is.
It was 20 something dollars, 20 some odd years ago. And I know it's like 40 or something now.
It's like 40 something now.
Which is bananas. So that's all. That's my little soapbox.
From what I've learned thus far from common reasons, lack of support from family and partner, less information given during prenatal visits, less likely to see a CLC or IBCLT during birth in the hospital, don't see it in the community as often, so it isn't normal. That's actually what my experience had been working when I was working with ADH and speaking to like the multitude of women that came through the WIC office. They didn't see breastfeeding in their home. Their cousins, aunts, uncles, mothers, sisters weren't breastfeeding, so they were kind of looked at as the weird ones. I've heard stories of women not wanting to breastfeed because their moms would have to watch the baby, and their mom didn't want to watch a titty baby, or they didn't want to watch a spoiled baby. The education isn't done prenatally. It's not focused on. It's, are you going to breastfeed? Check the box and keep it moving. Like a lot of things when you go to provider visits. So Ujima has been a blessing, to say the least, in being able to provide that education to women. Kwesi also mentioned being less likely to seek out CLCs and IBCLCs. That's true. They're there. Like, we're here. You got to come to us, though. A lot of people are more comfortable trying to reach out to those family members. But again, if those family members and that circle isn't what you need, or isn't providing what's helping you, you got to get outside that box. You have to.
You guys, I'm listening to the conversation, and you know, I'm just good for a cry. I know. Listen, you know, like when you were talking about some of the obstacles that some Black mothers face and some Black mothers experience when it comes to breastfeeding, and the thing that we hear a lot is that I don't want to watch a spoiled baby or a titty baby, or like a mom even feeling like I'm not going to be able to live my life like without my baby, you know, without my baby being like next to me. And like that's just rooted in ignorance.
Yeah.
Like flat out, like
flat out. Spend all that time inside of our womb, the expectation that they're going to come out and just ready for the world. That's not realistic. Yeah. They're supposed to be
realistic, and it's wrong. Like flat out, it's wrong. And so, I don't know. I want us to like really kind of have this hard conversation and really think about what we're saying and how we're casually communicating to our daughters, our cousins, our sisters, our friends, and saying things like, I'm not going to watch a titty baby, or your baby's going to be spoiled, or put that baby down, go put that baby over there. If the baby likes its mother and wants to be with its mother, then all of a sudden everybody else has a problem with it. No, that's actually healthy bonding that's happening. So instead of accusing that mom or bashing that mom, why don't you go wash her dishes? Why don't you go change her laundry? Why don't you go to the
Cook a
store and put
meal.
food in her house? Like, why don't you do that instead of just wanting to hold the baby? Like, when we talk about community, we talk about supporting, we talk about linking arms with people. It's much more than you being able to hold the baby. It's much more than you like being able to go to the store for like an hour
Or
or
give
whatever.
the baby a bottle.
Yes. Like, y'all, okay. I don't have extra words. It frustrates me. Like it really does. And it feels embarrassing, honestly. It feels embarrassing that this is the message that we are communicating within our own community to younger mothers, to new mothers, and it makes no sense. It's just wrong. It's flat out wrong. And so, will a baby be spoiled if they are breastfed? Absolutely not. Your
Nope.
baby has spent 10 months, and not, people say 9, it's actually 10 if you go to 40 weeks, which most people do, and maybe even beyond. So 10 months connected, always hearing sound, always in conversation with the mom. And then all of a sudden, you're going to take in like a nice, tight, confined environment. And now you're going to take this baby and go lay the baby on the bed and be like, oh, you're fine. No, you're not fine. This is why we have such unhealthy attachments as it is. Hold your baby, feed your baby. Okay, I'm
And
getting
it
fun.
is a fact that breastfed babies are more, they grow up to be more independent children than bottle fed babies because of the consistent and constant attachment to their mother in the
Right.
earlier weeks and months.
You want to read that out loud?
Yes, I'm a CLC in Virginia. This is Natasha Stevens.
Hi,
I'm a CLC.
Natasha.
Hey, all the way from Virginia. Hey.
Join in.
I'm a CLC in Virginia. I encounter more Black women basically thinking they are broken and or not eligible to breastfeed because it's not the norm when it is. They are embarrassed and confused. I have to get past the stigma before I can even get to the actual breastfeeding support and education.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel you. When I was
Yeah.
working for the health department, that was a constant daily struggle that I actually was like, it was when I first started years ago, it was very exhausting because I've never looked at breastfeeding as being weird or awkward, but to hear so many women, especially Black women, they're just like, ugh, and where am I supposed to feed the baby? Am I go in the back? Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You only have breasts to feed a baby. Like, that is their only purpose. So I feel you. It's very difficult. It's very hard.
Crazy jumps in and says, and partners need to be a part of the visits to learn alongside the mom because they need to understand the purpose of breastfeeding so they can be supportive.
Boom.
How many of you have heard a father or father of the baby say things like, "Those are my breasts," or "I can't suckle, whatever,
Yeah.
at the breast while the baby is there." You know what I mean? Like, and really want to push the baby off because of their own jealousy or whatever the
Feelings of ownership.
yeah, their own ownership. Those are things that are happening in the community, and those are conversations that are happening in the community in the privacy of people's homes, or women are feeling shamed for how, like,
Extended
I want
breastfeeding.
to do this with my baby. I want to bond with my baby in this way. And we have made breasts so sexualized that we don't understand, like, they can do too. They can
Yes.
do. You know what I mean? Like, there's more than just one size for everything. And I think that's so important to really communicate that. That's a big, 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 big thing. Regina's having a whole conversation over here. I'm going to pop on and share. I may not have all the words all the time, but I'm glad I brought this community to my family. So she names her family. We've had to unlearn some of the crazy nonsense about breastfeeding and mothering
Absolutely.
our children. That's it's so true. It's so true. It's so true. I'm so
I'm so
grateful that you brought this community my way. I've learned so much. Questions that I had when I was with Matt never got answered by professionals. I've gotten without even having to ask with you. Oh, gotcha. Truly a blessing. I love that. Kwaizi jumps back in. And some of those men don't understand how to support in public and educate their families. Yeah, it's true. And so the resources, can you show us how to breastfeed? Okay.
Are you, this is what I would say. Um,
I'm not sure who this is.
yes. So what I was going to say is if you're pregnant and you're looking for a breastfeeding class, or you are looking to get like some further education about breastfeeding, hit the inbox, schedule an appointment with one or both of us. We also have childbirth education classes coming up in January and March are the next two sets of classes coming up. Enrolling in those is also going to be helpful. But if you're looking to do something one-on-one, hit the inbox up, and then one or both of us will contact you, and we'll try to get something scheduled. There's a lot of layers into how to breastfeed, a lot of information that goes with that, and just honestly, we just don't have the time to do it in this moment because there's a lot of things, and I don't have my baby here. My baby doll is at the office.
Well, and I wasn't sure, like, honestly, I don't, Luke, I don't know who you are, and I don't know if you was like trying to. That's why I was like, just trying to have a whole titty moment, like, because we weren't doing that.
Look at Ava.
Did she bring a baby for you?
She did.
I love it. Thanks, Ava Rain. You guys, that's awesome. So just in summary, we wanted to just hop on here and give you a couple of like 1, 2s, 1, 2, 3, 4s, and some resources. So the first and primary resource that we've got going on is connecting with Ujima Maternity Network. That's going to be your first go-to here in Arkansas. Honestly, when you're looking for like lactation professionals and support, we have every second Saturday of the month, we have what's called maternal community outreach. And during those community outreaches, we've kind of expanded. So this year in 2022, moving forward, we will have the opportunity for you to sign up for lactation support specifically. So if you want lactation support, breastfeeding help, then you can hop on, go to the website and click community, where we talk about the community outreach, click a date, click the service you're looking for, and then there will be like a good, at least 9 CLCs available to support you. We've also, so that's awesome. That's a great resource to have. If you have a doula, talk to your doula. Ask her if she has other resources, other community networks. If she does, awesome. If she doesn't, then contact us again.
Contact us.
Yeah, or
jump on the Ujima membership.
Like
join
right now we've got a lot of things going on too that I just want to like for the last few minutes of this call, I want to, or this airing, I really just want to hop on and share with you a couple things. So one, when we're talking about right food for your body, we are specifically talking about from a company called Purium, which stands for Pure and Premium, which has regenerative soiled fruits and vegetables that are grown in regenerative soil, when dried, vine ripened, when dried, in a powder. This is what, you often see us drinking. If you follow Sarita or I, you see us drinking a lot of that. Bioavailable, 97% of your daily nutrients are available in this power shake, which is huge. So when we talk about needing supplementation or vitamins or prenatal vitamins, you don't need a prenatal vitamin if you're getting food that your body can actually recognize, because again, it is food. So we got an awesome challenge coming up in 2022, starting January 10th, where you can hop on and you can do a total transformation or a prosperous health transformation. And we talk about like health isn't just food and nutrition. health is wellness, health is your mind, body, spirit, like all of that connected together is a huge component to what we're offering. So if you're interested in getting some of that in your body, it's like one power shake is the equivalent to 7 salads. Seven
Yes.
salads. You're not
And-
eating 7 salads.
Right.
You're just not going to do it.
This is good for pregnant and postpartum.
Yes, 100%.
I know
Pregnant,
we have a lot of postpartum mamas on here. So
Yep.
pregnant and postpartum.
And that will also help with your milk production. When
Yes.
your body's healthy, it starts to produce from a healthy place. So
Yes.
there's that. We also have someone had a question, can she still sign up for outreaches if they're planning to have another baby but aren't currently pregnant, or her baby's 3 months in? Yes, you can absolutely sign up for clinics. We would love to have you, even if it's just for fun and giggles to take pictures, but there's always resources available to you. And then our final thing that we wanted to make sure you understood and knew about was our Ujima Maternity Network membership drive. Today is the last day for like all the things. Like we're wrapping up 2021 big and fast, y'all. And so today's the last day for you to hop on and join at 50% off. That's $60. So $60. For $60, you can become a member of Ujima Maternity Network for 12 months. So what is that? It's $5 a month. Like that breaks down to $5 a month.
Yep.
Nothing. Join in. Go to that website and you can click the link and you can sign up there. What else, Sarita? What else we got?
I think that was it.
Jamila asked, is there a code? There's a code for some things. If you're looking for the superfood, yes, there's a code. If you're looking for joining Ujima Maternity Network, there is no code. It's $60. Boom. So maybe a follow-up answer, like an answer follow-up. What is the right word I'm saying, Sarita?
What are you looking for a code for? We would like to know what that's for. Like, what you need a code for. What are you asking? I'm attempting to check out.
Okay. So that's the
membership.
Okay.
That's a Nicole question and a Nicole fix. So please hold. We'll get right on that.
Yes. So if Jamila, if you want to go fill out the form without making a payment and send that in, then I can follow up with the link and you can just make a $60 payment without choosing that. You can literally go in and just do a $60 donation and put membership in there. That'll work.
Yeah.
That's a quick fix.
Yep.
Ding. Any other questions, comments, or thoughts? Did we miss anything? I'm going to scroll back up just to make sure I did not miss anything, because I know we wanted to circle back to a couple things. And you guys have been amazing tonight. Very interactive. We really appreciate you taking the time.
This was fun.
Yeah,
you guys have been the best audience ever.
And the best last minute audience, because you didn't have all day or 3 months to like decide you wanted to participate. So thank you guys. We're nearing the close of our time. So if you guys want to hop on, if you want to ask any other questions, you can reach both Sarita and I through Ujima Maternity Network. That's going to be your best place to kind of get in contact with us. And then a host of other doulas, apprentice midwives, lactation counselors, all of that is in the house, baby. We're in the house. We got you covered. So be blessed. Have a happy new year. Be safe.
Happy New Year.
We'll see you in 2022. Bye. Oh, that's cute. Ooh. 2022. Okay, bye, y'all.
You're kind of crazy.